My roommate is trying to sublease her room to someone who assaulted me in the past, saying tough luck, not her problem, and to deal with it. Posted by u/Blothro111. When I, 22F, was a freshman in college, a guy named Pete, fake name 21M, began harassing me to date him. I refused repeatedly, and it ended with him ripping my shirt off at a party in an attempt to touch my chest. I filed a police report, and Pete was found guilty of assault. I have a 1,000-foot restraining order against him. Fast forward to this week, my roommate Shelly, 21F, needs a subletter to take over while she studies abroad for the summer. She only found out she was leaving 2 weeks ago and has been looking for someone to take her place since then. She found Pete on Craigslist and asked me if I approved. I showed her my court documents, but Shelly claims she can't find anyone else and says I will have to deal with it. We got into a heated argument, and she left the apartment. This morning, Shelly texted me that Pete would be moving his stuff into the apartment today. I called the police, but since Pete hasn't shown up yet, they said they can't do anything. Shelly also says she will stay for the remainder of the week. The lease states that she can move in whoever she wants without my permission, and the same goes for me, but the restraining order complicates things. The landlord told me it's between Shelly and me to figure out. Both Shelly and I have 1-year leases that expire in December with the same terms. Commenter. Is Pete aware that you're the person he'll be sharing the apartment with? You might want to let him know that you'll call the police if he sets foot in the place. Ops response. Pete is aware that I'm the roommate because Shelly posted the ad with a photo of both of us, without my permission. I already promised that I would call the police, but Shelly is locked in her room and refuses to listen to me. I'm sitting by the door with 911 pre-dialed. Commenter. I agree with the consensus to call the police the moment he arrives. Has he actually signed anything, like a sublet agreement? If so, he'll probably be on the hook to pay for an apartment he can't legally step into. I'm also not a lawyer, but I can't imagine that attempting to enter a living arrangement with someone holding a restraining order doesn't negate the restraining order. The first question I would ask Pete if I were a cop or judge is, why did you think you could live there without violating the order? Ops response. Shelly claims that Pete has already paid her for all 3 months in advance and that he signed a contract with her. I told her that her contract does not override my restraining order, but she basically put her hands over her ears to drown out what I was saying. I plan on calling the cops the moment I see his car pull up, which is less than 1,000 feet away. Shelly will still be here for the rest of the week, so I'm afraid this will escalate. Update 5 days later. Hi everyone, thanks for reading this update. I've added some extra details at the beginning to better explain what happened. Things took some M. Night Shyamalan twists. Details: Shelly and I were not close friends. We were simply roommates with our own separate bedrooms and a shared kitchen/living space. I've only known her since last December when we originally signed our leases. We've hung out, but the only real connection we had was that she likes anime/Japan, and I am Asian. The Craigslist ad that Shelly posted didn't have a photo. It turns out she had used a generic photo of the two of us in an ad on our college's Facebook page, but Shelly took it down before I had a chance to take a screenshot. The update: after I made my Reddit post, Shelly locked herself in her room for 3 hours. I tried to talk to her, but she refused to come out. When she eventually left her room to get food, she just walked past me as if I didn't exist. Everyone I called told me that until Pete actually showed up, no crime was being committed, so I couldn't report it. I just sat by the door and window, watching for Pete's car. This continued until early Saturday morning when Shelly woke up for her morning jog. I had stayed up all night on the couch, still keeping watch for Pete's car. Shelly tried to sneak past me, but I woke up and blocked the door. I demanded an explanation for why I was being forced to stay up all night, waiting to call the police on Pete when she knew I had a restraining order against him. Shelly's response was that the restraining order didn't matter to her. She claimed she had dealt with unreasonable people like me before and had never listened to a restraining order, so why should she start now? The more I listened, the sicker I felt. Shelly basically admitted to me that she is a beach. I told Shelly she was a real piece of work and that I would continue keeping watch for Pete while considering legal action. She replied that she was done looking for subletters and that it was my problem. I told her to go for her jog, and she left, only to return a bit later and lock herself in her room again. Around noon, I accidentally fell asleep because I had been awake for more than 36 hours. When I woke up, I saw Pete helping Shelly move her belongings into her car. While I didn't see him inside the apartment, he was helping her in the parking lot. I immediately locked them both out and called the police. When Pete and Shelly came back to the door and realized it was locked, Pete noticed me watching from the window. He blew up at Shelly, demanding to know why I was in the apartment and why she hadn't told him I was her roommate. He demanded his money back, and I could hear them yelling at each other through the door. When the cops arrived, they handcuffed both Pete and Shelly. I explained the situation, and Pete claimed he had text messages and emails to back up his side. The officers checked his phone and found messages from Shelley indicating that her roommate wouldn't care about XYZ because he's a chill guy. Pete had even posted his own ad looking for a male roommate. That's right, Shelley is a liar too. The police released Pete because he had proof he didn't know it was me. I was fine with this, as I saw the messages myself. Shelley, however, was charged with disorderly conduct, and her mom came to get her. On Sunday evening, Shelley and her mom returned to the apartment to finish packing for her study abroad program. Shelley made snide comments about me definitely going roommate hunting to find her a subletter, as I had said I would. I ignored her. This morning, Shelley left for her flight. The good thing about separate leases? I'm only responsible for my rent, not hers. So, I'm going to sit back and relax for the rest of the summer while she gets evicted for failing to pay her share. Up in the comments. I wish she could have been charged with more, but she started bawling her eyes out to the police officer, and he went easy on her because she looks so young. To me, it's just another sign that she's an awful person because she was manipulating the cops. The lease explicitly states that I'm not liable for her rent, and even if she tries to sue me, it's my word against hers, and I'm confident I would win that legal battle. Pete is staying as far away from it as he can, and he apologized to me and is trying to get his deposit back from her.